The nationwide protest has lost steam in some parts of the country after it turned violent in Kano, Borno, Yobe, Gombe, and Katsina states. On the show today, we will count the cost of a civil disobedience that nearly threatened national security. Good evening to you all in Nigeria and wherever you're watching us around the world. This is TVC News Politics on Sunday. I am Femi Akonde.
My dear Nigerians, especially our youths, I have heard you loud and clear. I understand the pain and the frustration that drive this protest, and I want to assure you that our government is committed to listening and addressing the concerns of our citizens. But we must not let violence and destruction tear our nation apart. We must work together to build a brighter future where every Nigerian can live with dignity and prosperity.
That's President Bola Tinubu's passionate appeal to Nigerians and protesters to stay off the street and open their doors for dialogue. That was earlier today during a statewide broadcast. Well, joining me to analyze President Bola Tinubu's speech and give some perspectives is a former aide, media aide to the former President Goodluck Jonathan, a public affairs analyst and author, Reno Omokri. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, you listened to the president's speech. Would you say it was enough to placate protesters and persuade them to dialogue?
I think it was enough, and if you consider the antecedents to that speech, if you look at the campaigns, during the campaigns, all major presidential candidates except Rabi Musa Kwankwaso said they were going to remove subsidy. In fact, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, on the 1st of January 2023, he said, and I quote, "I will remove fuel subsidy immediately on day one." So what has the president done that these people who are promoting this protest would not have done if they were in power? All parties, the PDP, my party, Labour Party, and then the party in power, we all said we were going to remove fuel subsidy. And if you go to Harvard Business School, they teach you a problem-solving technique. It's called PRS, Problem Reaction Solution. Now, if you look at that, the problem was that we had this unsustainable fuel subsidy. And the Buhari administration was sustaining it by debt. It got to a point whereby we were spending 97% of our income. Look at that, 97% of our income servicing our debts, not paying off our debts, servicing our debts. So obviously it was unsustainable. Now, this had to go. Yeah, you had the reaction. People said, okay, well, it's brought hardship. And what did the president do? He brought out a series of palliatives, a series of policies that were cushion the effect of the removal of fuel subsidy. We had 1 million units of compressed natural gas vehicles and processing centers all over the country. Now, the thing about CNG is that CNG for us is better than fuel because we control CNG. We don't have to import it. We don't have the refining capacity to refine our fuel. But with CNG, we have enough, more than enough. And then he also introduced policies whereby he gave almost 1 million Nigerians grants, nano entrepreneurs. So obviously 600,000 have gotten it. We got 400,000 more to get it. And then if you look at what he's done, obviously it's not going to be easy to just increase the minimum wage unilaterally. You have to go through processes. You have to negotiate with labor. You got to pass a bill at the National Assembly. And in that time when he was waiting for the bill to be passed, what happened? They gave a wage support of 35,000 naira to every federal government employee, which stopped in February. So I think enough had been done. So it's very unfair for people like Peter Obi and others to begin to say that the president has done something wrong and to encourage people to protest. Why? There is no basis for this protest.
Well, but the president also understands that some of these necessary economic reforms have caused significant hardship to a section of the population, and he's asking for more time to allow these reforms be fully implemented before Nigerians can feel the impact. But one thing Nigerians say they do not have is that time. How much longer can they wait?
Well, that's the thing, you have to create time for your country to grow, because no country is going to grow and move from third world to first world without a period of hardship like this, whereby you have to make sacrifices. I'm going to give you a couple of examples. If you look at Nigeria's history, we had our fastest economic growth between 1969 and 1970. And why was that? It was because we were not importing. The people who dominated the import trade had left Nigeria, had gone to the rebel republic of Biafra. And so we were forced as a country to begin to rely on the Ikeja, Igomu, the Oride, the Oshodi axis of manufacturing bases. And then what happened? 1969, our economy grew by 24.20%. If you're watching me at home, I encourage you to please fact check me. 1970, our economy grew by 25.01, our GDP. That is the highest GDP growth that Nigeria has ever had. Now, immediately after the war ended and then massive importation began, our economy dropped. And so we've been going through that cycle. So now, if you look at what happened now with this president removing fuel subsidy, you saw that for the first quarter of 2024, this year, we had a trade surplus of 6.52 trillion. Now, that means that we are now exporting more than we were importing. So this is the first time that we are having that since that period I just told you about, the Civil War. So what is happening in Nigeria right now is good. We're seeing that, okay, if you look at the stock exchange, for instance, for the first time, Nigeria passed 100,000 all-share index, which is very good. It's never happened before. And if you look at our foreign reserve, even though we have paid off our debts to these foreign companies, especially the foreign airlines, we have a foreign reserve of about $34.5 billion. So obviously, these economic policies, they are working. Now, it's going to take some time for them to trickle down to the masses, but they are working.
Well,